In the next edition of It's About Money, my guest will be Mary Ellen Hill, and she's a clothes designer and among other things that she does in life. Make sure you tune in for It's About Money. Hello and welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon and thank you for joining us. My guest is Mary Ellen Hill. Mary Ellen, among other things, is a clothes designer, a photographer, and some other wonderful things. I think you're one of the Renaissance women I know. So welcome to our show today, and I invite you to talk about your the clothing, your art form in clothes. So tell us about that.
Well, thanks so much for having me to start.
You're welcome.
And so my background is in fashion design and clothing construction. I went to design school right out of high school, and I think I've been sewing since I was probably 5. I used to make my Barbie doll clothes, and I've been sewing ever since. I just loved fashion, and I loved construction and putting things together. And so out of high school, I worked for, or out of design school, I worked for a designer dress shop here in Rochester called the Lita Shop, and actually worked side by side with Lita. And so that was, I altered the clothes that they sold. So they were designer, beautiful clothes, and that was a great way for me to get into the business. And I just happened to be good at it. You know, it's just a talent that I, you know, not only was gifted with, but worked towards and loved it.
So the designer clothing you had it altered to fit exactly for the
clients.
Yeah, very nice.
I remember my first day at the Lita Shop, they had me take the cuffs off of a blouse. It was a beautiful silk blouse, and I looked down at the price tag, and it was $350. It's like, oh my.
And how long ago was that?
Well, that was probably I graduated from design school in '79, so that was probably 80, 81.
So yes, almost 30 years ago for a $350 blouse. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, so I gulped a little bit when I was working on it.
How nice, though. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So then you recently opened the shop downtown Rochester, which is unique because there's no shops in Rochester, downtown Rochester.
Right.
So tell me about that. What made you decide to transition from the suburbs to the city?
Well, besides being a designer, I'm also a massage therapist, and I have a massage studio downtown, and I had an injury which is keeping me from massaging as much as I used to. So I started, as I was recuperating, I started sewing at home, and I started making these little vintage dresses, and I'd make a dress and I'd post it on Facebook, and somebody would buy it. I'd make a dress, post it, and somebody would buy it. And I'm thinking, well, maybe this is where I'm supposed to go, you know, because I had given up my sewing for a while. And it just felt so good to be back into it, and I love the design and the construction part of it. So I decided to open it downtown, you know, near my massage studio, so I can still do both, but more with an emphasis on the design now. And I have a beautiful studio down there, and it's now more, I've really embraced the whole art aspect of my design, and so I'm in the art district right above Rocco.
Rochester Contemporary.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's a nice space. And
it's a beautiful space. I'm so fortunate and so grateful to be there.
And how important do you think that is? In Pittsburgh, you were at the Village of Pittsburgh before, and now it's downtown.
Yeah,
how important is the space, you think, for the work that you do?
I think it's very important. I have a completely different clientele now. From when I was in Pittsburgh, you know, I had that population of people in Pittsburgh. And now it's different. It's so diverse. And I'm getting a lot of people who are interested in art and see fashion as art. So it is completely different. So I think it's important, but I think it's where the focus is, you know, or where you want the focus to be, you know, with your space.
And that makes you unique compared to other people who do design work and alterations and things like that. So now in your business, I would imagine getting started as a designer can have its challenges. I mean, first is having your name out there and people recognize your design work. So then you have to kind of establish some sort of bread and butter system to be able to sustain. So can you talk about that? What is the daily routine so that you know you could keep your business going?
Right. The bread and butter is alterations. So I do men's and women's alterations. So they bring me the clothes, I do the fittings, and pretty quick turnaround, for them to get their clothes so that they can wear them. So that's my bread and butter. And I just happen to be good at that. And I can get it out quick, and I feel that, I've done this work long enough that I've really developed that skill.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
And I know you've made many people happy with, disastrous outfits for weddings and things like that, and you've made miracles.
Oh, yeah. My latest one was a woman brought me a jacket that, a winter jacket with a zipper, and she had an accident, and the EMTs had to cut her out of her jacket. But she loved the jacket because it was from a university that not only she attended, but her daughter attends and actually works there. So she said, I want to salvage this jacket, and it was all torn up and it needed a new zipper. So I was able to work with her and put it back together, and she was so thrilled. I mean, she was so grateful. She had tears in her eyes,
Wow, that's
so
special.
yeah. So maybe that wasn't a big fashion design or big fancy dress or anything, but I made the client happy, and that's what I love about it. Yeah.
And what's great is you're near the Eastman School of Music.
Yes,
so you also
yes,
have
yes.
a lot of performing arts students
Yes.
who do for the recitals and stuff, gowns. And
Yeah,
things
that's
like
really fun because the students are so excited about performing for their final recital, and they come in with these beautiful gowns. And of course, I want them to shine on stage and make them look beautiful. So, I give them the customer service that they, would expect, and the skill and the talent and the creativity that all goes into it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And so you've done from performance outfits to jackets to wedding gowns and
Oh
other-
yeah, everything. I can't even, I've done everything. I can't think of anything I haven't done.
Yeah, not to mention cushions and things
Cushions
like
and
that.
pillows
Right,
and-
hotels have contacted
Yeah,
you. I think it's really creative that you've made yourself available to wedding parties in case there's an emergency, literally snag
Yeah,
on
right.
the outfits, right?
Yep.
And there's other models. I mean, with the different hotels in the community, you could also be accessible. And
Yeah, one of the things I did to promote myself when I first opened was to send letters out to all the different businesses and different hotels in that area because, somebody comes into town, they, their hem comes out or they need something done or they buy a dress here and want to wear it while they're in town. So I sent letters, introduced myself, and it really paid off to do that extra little legwork to introduce myself and then actually go and meet the general managers of these different places, and it has paid off, and I've made some really great business relationships and brought in business. So yeah, there's a nice area down there, the East End. There's a lot of great residents and condos and apartments and businesses, and it's like a little community. And it is, I was thinking the other day, it is like a little village, like when I was in Pittsburgh, little neighborhood.
Sure, yeah, and it's walking for a
Yeah.
lot of people, so it's nice that you could be there available, readily available for people who work downtown and live
Right.
downtown as well. So really, what you're telling me is that you can have great skills, but if there's no marketing, no one's going to be able to know about you. So you have to really use a good part of your schedule or some part of it anyway,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what would you say are the different types of tools to market your services? How do people know about you? I mean, what's from something that's simple to something more complex? I mean, I know that you put a tent, right, outside.
Yeah, I have an A-frame sign. That's the only signage I can actually have on my building right now. So I decided to do the A-frame sign, and it spells out right at what I offer, and then my phone number. And then my biggest way I advertise is Facebook. I use social media, Facebook and Instagram, and I post, my clothes, or I post a design, or things like that. I'm always putting things out there. But like you said, it is very time consuming to
Right.
do that, to take the picture, to edit it, to get it up there, in a timely manner, So, but it's a challenge, but I also like it, because you get instant feedback from people,
Sure,
sure. And I can look back and I can see, well, why didn't people like this, but they liked this,
I see. Got
So
it.
that's kind of fun.
And you also have the background of photography, right?
Yeah,
So that makes it
yeah.
convenient. So tell me about that process. So you make an outfit, then what happens?
I make an outfit, and sometimes I take photos through the process. You know, I'll show the fabric in my sewing machine, you know, or I'll show it a sketch of my design and then the fabric or something like that. But after I make an outfit, then I either put it on one of my mannequins with a backdrop behind it, or I've recently started bringing people in as models and having it. I've gotten a lot of feedback from the modeling. So I think that's probably where I'll go. You know, it's a little bit extra time, and I have to, you know, get the people, you know, in. But I really like how it looks, and I like the style of it, and I can get exactly what I want.
I see.
And I get a good response.
So you could showcase your creation and
Yeah.
using your photographic skills.
Yeah.
Now, let's actually talk about the models. I mean, is that an overhead that you have to incur, or do you have to pay the model, or are they usually budding models or friends? Or
Yeah, they're friends and budding models, and people just are thrilled to come in and have their photo taken.
Sure.
So, you know,
To be part of their portfolio.
Yeah, and sometimes I have a good friend who's a makeup artist, so she comes in and she'll do their makeup, and so it's like an event for them too, you know,
I see.
because I'll give them, you know, a few of the photos that I've edited so that they can, you know, print them or send them to their friends on Facebook or use them as their profile photo. So yeah.
I see. So that's great. So
Yeah.
really you try to engage a lot of other people in the process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, I used to think that, oh, I'm going to do this all on my own, that I'm an island, but no, I have to network, I have to bring other people in, because that's the collaboration is so fun, you know, and working with other people, and they have other ideas, and I have ideas for them, and
Sure,
yeah.
sure. And everybody benefits from it,
Yes.
because really, if you're a photographer and you want to have outfits, take photographs, existing outfits, it's nicer when it's a brand new outfit
Yeah,
that somebody
yeah.
would also market themselves. Yeah, that's terrific. And then, so there is, in terms of starting out your studio, did you have to repurchase machinery because you had stopped doing the art form before, like when you were working at Lita Shop and you had your own studio or a dress shop, and
Yep.
then stopped that for a little bit? And then did you have to repurchase? What kind of capital are we talking about that in terms of getting started again? Or did you have lots of machines because you've always been sewing?
Yeah, I've always been sewing, and I never gave it up, even when I took that time off. And so I kept everything. When I closed my studio in Pittsburgh, I kept everything. So I had a little
see.
storage unit, and I had, you know, bins, and I kept everything in there. So when I went to open up my new studio here on East Avenue, I was amazed at all the things that I had. So I had the sewing machines, and I purchased a heavy-duty machine because I wanted to start working with leather, and I wanted to start making leather bags and leather accessories and things like that. So, and that I can use for canvas or denim, you know. So I felt that that was the one machine that I really wanted to get. So I did that right away, and my capital, I had, to start my business on East Avenue, I had $5,000, and that's what I initially had to start.
I see. So, but a couple other machines, like the leather machine and all that.
Yeah,
stuff.
it went there, and then, you know, different things, you
Right.
know, photography things and lights, and I have a beautiful studio set up beautifully with different, you know, furniture, and so.
Yeah,
that-
that's terrific.
Yeah.
And I think your other skill is painting, because you painted your studio, right?
Oh, yeah. That's not anything I like. I don't have passion for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like necessary painting, paint the walls.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we'll take a quick break, Mary Ellen. My guest is Mary Ellen Hill, and she's a designer, and we'll be right back.
I'm not on this bill by accident. I was a founding father. I was the first president. I worked hard to be on this bill, and you're spending me willy-nilly. Stop spending money to smash sweets and baked goods on telephone games. Save your money.
And we're back. I'm Nannette Nocon. It's about money. My guest is Mary Ellen Hill, and she's a designer, among other things. So, Mary Ellen, thanks again for coming in to talk to me about your design work.
Thank you.
So you've got some things up ahead, but first let me talk to me about your typical customer. Is there one that's typical, or is it, who would you say, oh, that's my ideal customer, but really it's a wide range. So tell me about
It
that.
really is a wide range. When I was in the village of Pittsburgh, it was pretty much the same. You know, it was the Pittsburgh population, somebody who was middle age. You know, but now it's a wide range. Like you said, I'm getting people from the Eastman, students from the Eastman School. I'm getting people who are empty nesters who have moved now downtown, and I'm getting you know, mid-20s who buy vintage dresses, you know. So I'm getting, so I'm getting a wide range of clients, which I'm really happy about. You know, I love working with everybody, you know.
Yeah. And then you've reached out to this clientele through many different means, right? You've partnered with other shops. So tell me about that partnership, collaboration.
Collaborations, yes. I wanted to bring more people. One of my advertising strategies was just to get more people into my studio, and how could I do that? So I thought, well, I'm going to have a pop-up show and sale, vintage, because I love vintage, you know, and a lot of the dresses that I made when I started were vintage little dresses. So there is a vintage shop in Rochester, and I invited her in, and then she invited another vintage shop from Syracuse, and we had a wonderful event, and it brought their people to me, my people to them, and I'm right there to do the alterations, which helps them sell the dress, because then the people can visualize what it's going to look like when it's taken in or shortened. So that was a great collaboration, and I hope to do a lot more of those. And then I also invited, most recently I invited a fabric designer. She prints and dyes fabric, and she makes up little garments, so I had a show for her. So again, she brought her people into my studio, my people saw her things, and it was, you know, beneficial for both of us. I invite artists, now that I'm in the art district and I'm embracing this art. I'm inviting artists to come in to display their work on my walls, do a little reception for them during a First Friday and maybe one during the month, and it again brings their people to me, my people to them, and it's really working nicely.
So you're showcasing the art form as much as you're showcasing yours to their.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in downtown Rochester, it's all of Rochester, there's a program called First Friday, right? So tell me about First Friday.
I love First Friday. First Friday is free advertising for me. So First Friday, I'm above Rochester Contemporary Art Gallery, and they usually have a new show or a new opening or a guest or you know, some kind of event. And they open up our studios, Rochester Contemporary Art upstairs where we have studios, and that's where my studio is, and people will come up, and you know, there are people that have never been up there before. So again, I'm getting all those people coming in, seeing my things, I'm passing out my card, I'm telling them about what I do, and you know, most people say, oh, I've been looking for somebody that could sew this or that, or can you do this, can you do that? So again, collaborating with different people, and it's working really well.
That's nice.
It's really nice.
I think that's terrific. So how do you get them to keep coming back, or do you do anything to have them keep coming back?
Well, I think the main thing is customer service and doing an excellent job for them.
Sure.
You know,
happy they keep coming back.
Oh yeah, and I've had a couple people say to me, and I say this humbly, but that my work is above anything they've ever seen. You know, one person said, you know, there's tailors, there's seamstresses, but she says, you're different. You're a notch above that. And that just makes me feel great, because I do put a lot of my effort and time and talent into each garment, you know, whether it's a simple hem or simple mending of a seam, you know. It's my name going out on each one, and I take a lot of pride in that.
That's great. That's great. And in the fall of 2016, you'll be participating in the Fashion Week, right? And
what a thrill! Yeah,
and that's the fundraiser for the oh my goodness, for the, what is the name of the show?
Child service?
No, it's actually for Elaine Spall's organization, and they raise money for the teenagers who are not, or who are homeless.
Yeah.
And so Fashion Week helps with that, and you're participating. And tell me about that. I know it's yet to happen as we tape this show, but tell me about your Center for Youth. Oh my
Center for
goodness,
Youth, yeah.
it's terrible to be getting over 50. It's like the name escapes. But Center for Youth will be, that's their fundraiser. It's a non-for-profit organization. So
I am thrilled to be a part of that. And I met Elaine first when she did my ribbon cutting when I first opened. So that was a thrill, and she saw my work, and she invited me to be part of Fashion Week 2016. And so I'll develop a line, or 10 to 12, how many garments I would like, and they set up the makeup and the hair and the models, and I'll fit the clothes to the models, and I'll have my own little show during that week. And this year it'll be on the Thursday of that Fashion Week. So I'm thrilled. Yeah,
that's great.
So I'm still thinking about what I want to do. I'm still developing the designs. I feel that it's going to showcase me and what I'm mostly passionate about.
Sure, you're capable too.
Yeah. So
now, how important is fabric when you're creating an outfit?
Yeah, fabrics is really important. Sometimes I can see a fabric and know exactly what I'm going to do with it, but other times I'll purchase the fabric and just have to sit with it for a while and see what I want to do. So that actually happened to me this morning. I have this piece of fabric at my studio, and I've been just pondering what to do with it. Nothing was coming to me until this morning. I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I know how it's going to drape, and that's going to go with the design, and the border is going to go with the design. So, yeah.
That's interesting. I was listening to a TED Talk on one day, and they talked about the creativity, that if someone's pushed under pressure to be creative, or someone is too organized and say, okay, I have to do this project, they work on it, they're not as creative. Someone who waits till the very end, they're not as creative because of pressure for time. But someone who starts thinking about it and mulls over it and just kind of gets the feeling for it are the most creative. It's like a bell curve. So if it's too early, it's not as good. If it's too late, it's terrible. But somewhere in the middle where you could kind of have your subconscious think about the design or the artistic requirements of that particular project, if you will. So now, in terms of having a shop, what are the kinds of overhead that you have to deal with? I mean, there's Facebook, but do you do advertising with Facebook, or?
I don't do advertising with Facebook.
Okay.
I've tried that before, and it hasn't worked. And
Okay.
I've done some research, and people say that it's a waste of money
Sure.
to boost. So my overhead is my rent, and then Wi-Fi and, all the notions and supplies and things like that. But I don't do print advertising. I did when I was in Pittsburgh years ago, but I don't now. I try to use the social media because it's free.
Sure. And then really word of mouth. Rochester, I believe, is a community where you have word of mouth quite a bit, and people giving referrals and that kind of stuff. So really on an ongoing basis, if you can generate enough business through your alterations, like on a regular basis, and that covers rent, if you can have that consistency, and then your design work is really what brings in the revenue.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. That's terrific. And what do you see up ahead? I mean, you have the leather work that you do. We're going to show some of your photographs as well of the clothing that you've done. But you also have done leather work also, right?
Yeah, I would like to develop that. That's a new skill for me. But people seem to really like what I do. So I would like to do more of that, making handbags and things like that. But my real dream, looking ahead, is to have a line of clothes. I would love to develop a line of clothes and then have them made right here in Rochester.
Yeah.
Maybe have an more of an online presence with a website where people can purchase, or it would be made to order, bespoke type of clothing. So that's my dream. But also I have the passion for the leather, and I have so many ideas. I think that's my biggest problem. I have too many ideas, so I've got to focus.
Yeah. Well, what's nice is that you have this ongoing customer base. They come see you, so you have to do the work in a way. So then the ideas is sort of like, okay, I'll write that down and work on it later.
Sketch something out.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's terrific. So what would someone who's getting started in doing what you do? What are the pieces of advice that you'd offer?
Well, I had somebody come to me, and he wanted to be a fashion designer, and he wanted to sew. And I said, well, you need some skill. And he had already opened his shop up. And I said, well, what are you going to do at your shop if you don't have the skill? And he says, well, just do it. And I said, well, how? You know? So I believe that you need to develop your skill. You need to learn how to sew. I can't imagine being a designer without knowing construction and how a garment goes together, because it's the biggest part of it. You know, you can sit and sketch a dress, but to know how that's going to go together and how the fabric is going to drape and hang here, you know, that's a huge part of it. And then the sewing. I just love from the conception to the end, for me. I mean, I'm sure there's designers out there that'll sketch and then hand it off to someone, but for me, I like the whole process.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So really, first you have to have a skill. So if you don't have the skill,
yeah,
go ahead.
that can be developed. You
Sure,
know, I
sure,
went
sure.
to, you know, I've sewn before I went to school for it, but that's where I really developed the couture way of sewing. You know, and but that can be developed like any skill.
Sure,
you know.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you've actually done is also teach people how to
Yeah,
sew, right?
yeah, that's really fun, because I believe it is a dying art, and I don't think it's being taught in schools anymore. I don't think there's home ec, I'm not sure. But so people aren't being introduced to sewing, you know, even as an option to learn. So yeah, I would like to do more of that, because it's a dying art and it's a wonderful craft, you know.
So if someone said, gee, I want to learn, I'll contact Mary Ellen and say, teach me how to sew.
Yeah, yeah, and we start from the basics. You know, I have to see where they are in their skill level. Maybe they've had a little bit of training or a little bit of sewing, but you know, we start from the basics, see what they can do, and then go from there.
And you know, traditionally, girls are the ones who want to learn how to sew, but you've also had
Yeah.
classes for men,
Yeah, my
right?
first student here on East Avenue was a man.
Yeah,
and
right.
he's sewing all the time now. It's so funny.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So what was his motivation to learn how to sew?
He says he's always wanted to learn, and he's like, I'm close to 40, I think, and he just decided to bite the bullet and learn. And he bought himself a machine. I helped him pick out a machine, and we had a couple of months of lessons, and he took right off.
I see. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
I hope
yeah.
you get to see his creations.
Yeah, I know. I'll have a show for him sometime.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So really, in your case, you're first you have to have to suggest for someone to open a shop similar to yours. First the skill, and then really having some equipment, and
Yeah.
then getting started with the basics of the creating of the construction, and then designing from it. So
Yeah.
that's great. And to keep it going, it's the collaboration
Yeah.
among many artists, right? So whether it's other shops or other artists that come and exhibit at your studio.
Right.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all that comes together and into a beautiful business.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's nice when someone can use the different skills that they've acquired during their lifetime and put it all together. Like in your case, the photography, you know, the design, the alterations, and then the collaboration. So
Yeah.
that's really great. And now you know a lot about social media, so you've been posting a lot as
Yeah,
well.
that's right.
And actually, in terms of the content, you've been giving people information, like informative, right? Instead of just, here's my outfits, check it out. You're sharing some information that they should be thinking about.
That's right. And down the road, I'd like to do little videos, and this is how you sew a button on, or this is how you hem a pair of pants, or, you know, anything like that.
I
You know,
see.
I think that
Great.
would be fun, too.
Yeah, the how-tos.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Well, I think that's terrific. I think that we are living in a world that today, with the advent of all this easy technology access and being able to share that with others, that it makes what we do have a better chance of getting known out there. So,
Yeah.
well, Mary Ellen, it's been a lot of fun having you today.
Oh, thank you so much.
I
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
your time and sharing with our audience.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us in my show here with Mary Ellen Hill, and she's a fashion designer, seamstress, photographer, among other things. Until next time, I'm Nannette Nocon, and it's about money.